Erev Tov, everyone. The Mishnah in Avot comments, "Ba'asora mamorot nivra olam." The world was created, as we know it, by 10 statements, so to speak, that the Ribono Shel Olam uttered. The Mishnah asks the question, "Alo b'mamar echad yochal liborot." Why do we need 10? The Ribono Shel Olam could have created it instead of saying Yior and then Vayerev Vayiboker Yom Echad and then Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi, etc. Could have said, let the universe be full blown. So the Mishnah says that the reason is to give reward to the righteous who value a world that was created with 10 statements, and to give punishment to evil people who come to destroy a world that was created with 10 statements. So if we look at that on the surface, it doesn't quite register for us. And the Meforshim, therefore, have gone into great lengths to try and give us meaning as to what this Mishnah means. And really, depending upon the generations, if you look in the generation of the early Rishonim, the Rif and the Rambam, of Shmuel HaNogid, so then they dealt with it philosophically, that this was philosophic, because they lived in an age of philosophy. Later, when other ideas arose, so then the interpretation of the Mishnah changed. In our time, many of the Meforshim, the later Meforshim, such as Rabbi Hirsch and the Hamek Dover, the Netziv, the Meshech Chochma, Rabbi Meir Simcha, the Ksav Kabbalah, the later Achronim who dealt with Chumash, so they gave it a different twist, one that, so to speak, resonates more to us. That they said the world was built gradually. That's what it means. Asora Mamoras didn't happen at once. And Vayerev Vayiboker Yom Echad, etc., refers to eons of time that we don't know how to measure that, but that it was, so to speak, a world that evolved. It wasn't a world that came into being at one time, and that therefore there were different animals. The Tanini Magdolim, we don't know what that is. Other such ideas. So there are those that accepted those ideas, and there were those that disagreed with it pretty strongly, and said that, so to speak, that's not how to look at the Mishnah. The Mishnah should be understood at face value. It should not be translated into our times or into what we think today science teaches us. But one thing is certain, the world was created to perfection. It is unbelievable the perfection that exists in nature. And it has to be that way, because otherwise nothing could exist. For instance, our Earth is placed exactly at the right distance from the sun. If it were 1% closer, the world would burn up. And if it was 1% farther, the world would freeze. And since we're talking about millions of miles, but 93 million, whatever that is, so it's possible to be off a little. You know, the famous joke about the accountant, that he couldn't get the books to balance. He was always off a nickel. So in frustration, he got up and he just left a nickel on the table and went away. It's possible to be off a little, but it's not possible to be off a little, because it's all perfection. All of nature, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom. So you have to stand back in awe. And that's what it means, Basora Mamoros Nivra. The Rebbeinu Shalom created the world with perfection. And he wanted you to, so to speak, understand that it's created in that perfection. And to understand it, therefore, you have to see it in its pieces and not as a whole. Because only when you see it in its pieces and then you put it all together, does the wonder of nature really strike you. I've read many works on astronomy and on ideas of nature, etc. And it seems that all agree that somehow there is a perfection here, and that without that perfection, it can't exist. We could not operate without it. And therefore, that's what Chazal had in mind when they said, Basor Amor Nivra Olam. And it's to give schar to people that realize that see in the universe the creator. Einstein said famously, God does not play dice with the world. And the opposite is true also. One of the most difficult ideas to understand is how people who are great in science and who, so to speak, see the perfection that exists in the universe and are able even to, in their own way, explain it, and say that somehow it all happened at random. The odds of it, I saw once, the odds of it happening at random are billions and billions to one, non-existent. And yet, the Rebbeinu Shalom implanted within us such a strong koach habchira, such a strong nature that we can choose to believe whatever we want to believe. Don't confuse me with the facts. My mind is made up. I believe this. And therefore, that's why Chazal said that it's a punishment for the Rishonim, who, in spite of the fact that they can explain the 10 Mamoros, and in spite of the fact that they see also the perfection that exists in nature and the development of everything over time, and they continue to deny, refuse to recognize the kingship and the greatness of the Creator itself. So Chazal, when they formulate an idea, formulate it for all times. The only thing is the interpretation of that idea takes on different forms in different generations and in different times. And that's part of its eternity, is that it's all encompassing. It's not just an idea for philosophy or for science or for history or for this particular study of anatomy, but it embraces everything. All of the universe is included in it. And that's part of the idea, therefore, that the world was created by Sora Mamoros in order to impress upon us the perfection of the world and the fact that through the world, so to speak, the Creator reveals himself onto us. And we see it in our own bodies. From your own flesh, you will see God, the perfection of the human body, and from all of nature itself, and everything else in the world that surrounds us. So that's the wonder of it, and that's what Chazal wanted to impress upon us with this Mishnah in Avot of Basora Mamoros Nibra Olam. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashi Omer Rotz HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakus Es Yisrael Leficha Chir B'Lahem Torah Mitzvos Shenemar Anocha V'etz Man Tzidko Yagdul Torah V'Yadir.